Success isn't given, it's earned. And earning it means becoming the person who deserves it. The bottom line is where we cut through the chaos to simplify success, uncovering the strategies, mindset, and resilience it takes to win. Real stories, expert insights, and practical tools. Because the only way to the top is by putting in the work. This is The Bottom Line.
We are back on The Bottom Line. I'm Ryan Herpin, the host of this wonderful show where we can make a difference together. Today I'm being visited by Ben. He is a good friend of mine and it got tons of experience on the values of relationships and how that's really helped him. So, Ben, now that we've talked about why relationships matter, let's talk about how to build them. A lot of people struggle with making real connections. What advice could you give to someone who wants to build stronger, more authentic relationships in business?
I think you have to be friendly and open. It's a little uncomfortable, meeting strangers is not everybody's, when I walk into a room of realtors I've never met, I still get nervous, and every business thing I've read or said or done is when you're out of your comfort zone, you're doing the right thing. Right. And it does get easier over time. Some people are natural fit, but you just be genuine and curious about people. Taking interest in them. I would say the amount of people that I've talked to that I don't have something in common with after a 3 or 4 minute conversation is I can probably count on both hands over a 20-year career.
Wow.
If you start talking to somebody, they're either from somewhere, they know somebody, they're an Astros fan. Whatever it is, there's some kind of common ground to build from. And then, and it's just a conversation, right? Okay. If you don't ever talk to him again, well, it's not a relationship, but the follow-up is key, right? The follow-up is key, man. It's spoken from a salesperson, the easiest things to do are the hardest things to do, right? The discipline to write down their contact information, remember their name, always use people's name in conversation or email or text, don't just send them a random text. Say, Ryan, this is, blah, 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 but use your name and follow up. And if you can break bread, coffee, lunch, some of them, I will go to the golf course. You can't comment on my game, but
Right.
I can poke the ball around the course a little bit. And, and I told you I have a fishing problem. And that's not for everybody, but I've got a few great relationships with a builder and a couple of real estate agents who, love to fish. And that's, on the boat, it's just you and them. It's no cell phone, you can get in those kind of situations. And that's kind of the advanced end of it. But it all starts with a conversation, being curious, friendly, open to anybody. You just never know. Like I said it earlier, every person you meet is an opportunity. And relationships, good ones, once you get a good relationship, sometimes, you might go a year and, once it's become established and, real estate agents come in and out of the market, families, have issues and people have to, I'm in the stage where a lot of people, disappear because they're taking care of an elderly parent for a while, and you're like, man, I hadn't talked to them in 2 years. You call them, you can help out. Touch base with them. Social media, even though I've been drug into it, I started before it, it's a great way to see what's going on with people, just to keep up. People will post stuff that gives you clues about what's going on in their life. But
it sounds like there's some consistencies.
Yes.
It sounds like a couple of the consistencies would be having a genuine interest. Actually caring. There's a lot of people out there that'll fake just about anything to get what they want, but
right.
The key isn't acting. The key is just be authentic, be real, be genuine, actually care. That's what does it for me. I've dealt with a lot of people that, they pretended pretty well that they cared, but you could feel the difference, right? Like now you've got me fired up. I want to pack up a cooler and join you on the boat, get some fishing going.
Man.
Shoot, that's what I'm talking. That's the kind of relationship building I'm looking for, right? That takes the business out of it and just makes it fun.
It does. And it's all about the business comes, we talked about it before. If you put in the work, the scoreboard will take care of yourself. I still remember Coach Morgan just pounding that into us, And as an athlete, I based a lot of my early career just on team and sport and the lessons I learned doing that. But it's applicable from anything. You can take it, turn it into business. And like I said, I enjoy people. New people are great. And it has sustained my career. Like I said, especially when times get tough. And there's not as many transactions out there, the relationships will keep you going. So I've always, and I don't sell, in my relationships. If you call up a realtor and say, how's it going, Ryan? Have you got anybody you can send me? Man, that's a huge turnoff.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
They know what you do. They know where you work. They've known for a long time. And I know if I care about them that they'll take care of me and I'll take care of them. So it's just, like I said, I never was taught that. It just kind of happened,
I like the way that you put that. But like with all this talk on building relationships, all the strategies there, all the inner workings of doing that, I'm curious because this is something that I think a lot of my clients that I've dealt with still kind of struggle in. It's how do you balance those business relationships with, your personal boundaries?
You have to respect people's time. It's a case by case basis, right? Some people want to go deeper. Some people want to, keep it more on the business side, and you develop a feel and for what's appropriate, but you always respect people's time. You set clear expectations up front. If you're working on a project or a loan, maybe, a lot of times you can set, you're working with a new person, you prove yourself, do the transaction well, and then have the coffee, right? You've already, if you pulled it off successfully, they're probably going to say yes. You got to have a little bit of a cocky attitude, to know me is to love me, right? And that doesn't always work, but you got to go into it positive. And like I said, everybody's not a fit. Some of them, it is sales, it is a numbers game, but you'll know who you warm up to. There's certain ones where, it's just a lot of fun, and I've met people when their kids were before they got into school, and I've been to their weddings, their graduations, and I never set out to do that, but the relationship got to the point that I was on the list when their kid got married or when their kid graduated, and it just developed out of those relationships. And the whole time we're doing business. I've got relationships with realtors that have retired and they still call me. And it's like, man, I can't get off the phone, but I hadn't talked to him, and it ends up being a 30-minute conversation, and I love that. I love
That's
that.
funny. That's funny. I think there was some extreme value in that because just like before, I'm going to use that word again, highlight. You've highlighted some of the major benefits of focusing on building those relationships. I know in my life, great example, the first opportunity I had to become a published author, right? I never saw myself as a writer. I never thought it was my thing until I was introduced to somebody that I've looked up to for many, many years, a few people actually, Mr. Jim Britt, Jim Lutz, and Les Brown. These are people I've read their books, I've watched their videos, I've listened to their speeches, seminars, keynotes. And then because of one of my relationships, they introduced me to Mr. Jim Britt. And that for me was like, whoa, like how is this even possible? Like, I haven't gotten you any clients, I haven't closed any deals with you. It was the relationship. It did more for me than just, closing a deal with them. It introduced me to somebody that gave me the opportunity to become a published author with big names. So it's like you highlighting that is, you didn't think you'd be in a position where you're going to their kids' weddings and things. It just happened because the relationship naturally evolved into that. I think there's serious value in being the kind of guy that you are that ends up being at someone's kids' weddings.
There's also value, and it's almost like some of them are like an out-of-body experience. It's like I don't even feel like I deserve the business because I haven't really, I made the relationship, but I really didn't talk that much about mortgages. And I got the deals before, and of course, it's business. You got to perform, right? You got to get the deal done correctly and all that. But some of them I remember going, man, and just how did this happen? And it was just from being friendly, learning about people. I'm going to have fun. If you're if you're one of those people that doesn't want to have a good time during a business transaction, I'm going to be serious and professional. I mean, I get that, but I'm going to have a good time. I mean, I only get to do it once, and I'm going to enjoy it, right? And
I think that's a good point. I mean, it's case by case basis, right?
Yes.
You kind of work with how people feel, but man, this has been a very informative conversation. There's been a lot of really good, some really major bits of wisdom that you've dropped in. There's some gold that I wish I was taking notes. I probably should have been. But where can our viewers, where can our listeners, where can everybody find you? How can they connect with you if they want to have a mortgage person that they can trust and build a relationship with?
They can reach out via my phone, which is, I've had that number since 96, 713-412-3709. You can find me online at sinclairloan.com. You can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the forum I've been on the longest, and soon to be on Instagram and YouTube. Somebody has talked me into that. I haven't done it yet, but it's coming. It's coming. I work for a fairly good sized mortgage banker. We close loans in 14 days, and would love to talk to anybody. Whether you're in real estate or you're looking to buy your next home or you're thinking about refinancing or you need to get cash out, anything like that. I love to have conversations, and would be happy to, help you in any way that I could.
Thank you, Ben. It has been an absolute honor having you on the show. I love talking to people like you, especially in topics like this of building relationships. And if there's one thing that I can say we can all take away from the conversation with you, it's relationships are much more important than we all think. So don't go anywhere. Once again, we're going to be right back, and I'm going to focus on some of my philosophies in this topic. We'll be right back on The Bottom Line.